The Extraordinary Rendition of Janos Farkas. Chapter 44. You're late. What were you doing with that asshole Abdullah? Hussein shrugged, sucking bits of mint leaves from his teeth. He's trouble. I told you that. He's trouble, and he's an asshole. I haven't signed in yet. You're too late to sign in now, Hussein. The car is already here for the prisoner. They won't want you going in and out while they're making the transfer. If it's too late, then I'll go home. I'll tell them I'm sick. It's too late for that. I signed you in. Your machine pistol is in the back seat. Who's the transfer? I don't know. Does it matter? Hussein didn't answer. He just opened the door and got in the car. I'm sick, he said. I know the smell of mint leaves, the other said to him. You're hungover. If they find out you were drunk the night before a prisoner exchange, it will be you who ends up in a grave. Shut up. Shut up yourself. Why is Abdullah still waiting over there in his car? Oh, shit, I forgot. I told him I would get him a cigarette from you. Do you have one? Here, the driver said, handing his half-full pack of Lucky Strikes. Give him one and get him the hell out of here before they do the transfer. They're not going to like it if there's a strange car out here when they bring the prisoner out. And hurry. Hussein took the pack of cigarettes and walked over to the shadows where Abdullah was parked. Moments later, he was back in the Peugeot. Where's the rest of my cigarettes? I gave them to him. All of them? Hussein nodded. Shit, now what am I going to do? Hussein grinned and pulled the pack out of his tunic pocket. Asshole. Asshole yourself. Not you. What is that asshole Abdullah still doing here? Look, he's coming over. He needs a light. Can't you see he needs a light? That's all. Asshole. He's trouble, I tell you. He's an asshole and he's trouble. Abdullah came up to the driver's window, pushed his head through it, and stuck the unlit cigarette in his mouth. The driver flicked an old Zippo lighter, and Abdullah sucked the flame to the cigarette and the smoke to his mouth. As he exhaled the smoke into the car, a black metallic tube poked through it. It was the barrel of an Uzi machine pistol. Abdullah's head was jerked from the window. Before the driver could react, the Uzi was an inch from the bridge of his nose. The face behind the Uzi was covered in a shamag. Hussein swung around, reaching for his Heckler & Koch MP5 in the back seat. He didn't have time to swing it up, to push it past the driver's head and fire. He didn't even have time to yell a warning. There was a pistol at his temple and a piece of gray industrial tape going over his mouth. In seconds, both Hussein and the driver were out of the car with their legs and arms and mouths taped. There were 3 assailants, all wearing army uniforms. One opened the trunk of the Peugeot and forced the driver in. Then he motioned for Hussein to get in. There wasn't room. That didn't matter to the assailants. One struck Hussein a hard blow in the stomach, and when he bent over, he was dumped in on top of the other man. The trunk lid had to be slammed several times before it would close. All of this had happened in no more than 90 seconds and without noise. 2 of the assailants took their places in the Peugeot. In the shapes, shadows appeared, dark, nondescript shapes that could have been squat bushes or small trees, except that each shape had eyes and hands, and in the hands were guns. Abdullah crouched, crab-like, among the shapes. What do we do now? He asked. Wait, Gisela said. Wait for what? What if they saw something? If they had seen something, they would be out. You know that for yourself. You were a guard here, the voice of Alice Murray said. If I were a guard here, you would not be doing this. If you were a guard here, it would be easier, Turk answered. Abdullah spat on the ground. If it was not for his cousin, he would not be involved in this. If it were not for his cousin, he would not be here. He knew now that if it were not for his cousin, there would have been no opium. Screw his cousin. When they opened the door to bring Janos out, Gisela said, we'll let the car get up to the Palestinians in the Peugeot. One of them will get out as if it's a routine inquiry. When the windows roll down, we will be on them just like we were with the guards. We will get in the car and take it to where we can transfer Janos to another vehicle. What happens to the car? Abdullah asked. What happens to my friends? The car will be found in another part of Damascus, Al-Asmari replied. The guards will be in the trunk. We won't kill anyone, unless we have to. If everything goes as planned, the Syrians will be embarrassed and try and cover this up. This has worked for us before. We have done many things that no one has heard of officially. The Americans won't like it. What will the Americans do? The face they show to the world is not one that is involved in this. What about me? Abdullah asked. There was fear in his voice. Fear of the answer, fear of the truth. We'll tape you up and put you in the back seat of the Peugeot, Gisela said. You'll act as surprised as the others. How will anyone know any difference? Shh! Quiet, Turk said. The door is opening. The shapes became as motionless as death, dark night shadows shrouding them in their secrecy. A far Philistine guard stepped through the door, and then another. The two carried Heckler and Koch MP5 machine guns. They walked a few paces into the yard. One opened the back door of the waiting car, pointing its gun through the opening as if expecting a surprise. The other started towards the Peugeot. The driver window opened, and Heckler and Koch was waved at the guard, signaling, all clear. The two guards went back and stood on either side of the prison door. Through the door stepped a man in a dark suit, leading a man who was shackled and hooded. The shackled man was led to the open door of the car and pushed in head down. The man in the suit went to the driver's door and opened it. He waited, watching the prison door. A man started to come out, pausing in the doorway. I know that man, Abdullah whispered hoarsely. That's the man who broke my arm. I'll kill him. Turk reached around and put his hand over Abdullah's mouth. No shh, no be quiet, no stern look. Just a hand stopping all sounds and almost all breath. The man turned in the door's light, the red handlebar mustache shining, the apple in his hand glinting. For the first time, a sound could be heard from mine. It was the sound of air being sucked rapidly into her chest. Her eyes widened, her memory flashed. The smell of apples knifed through her. Abdullah's heart was pumping furiously, in his rage at the insult to the hand over his mouth, in his need for breath, and in the knowledge that he had to act now. He bit Turk's fingers. The bite surprised and angered Turk, and he pulled his hand back, forming it into a fist. The fist flew, but there was no place for it to land, no point of impact. Abdullah was on his feet, pistol in hand, running at the prison door. I'll kill you, he yelled. Die, asshole. Carpenter spun around, his hand reaching for his gun. Abdullah fired first. Bang, bang, bang. 3 rapid shots that seemed as one. Carpenter slumped to the ground, his left hand clutching his chest, his right sagging with the weight of his Glock. His eyes were closing as he squeezed off 2 shots of his own. Abdullah, like a man in a mirage, ceased to run. His knees buckled. He hit the ground and convulsed into a fetal position, his eyes staring at Carpenter. Through thin slits, barely open eyes, Carpenter looked at the Syrian. Behind the big man, he could see movement, running, but he kept his eyes on the downed man. He was the key. Turk covered the ground to the car in 7 strides. Gisela hard behind him. He fired at the 2 guards without aiming, squeezing rapid shots off in their direction, knowing that men had to be very committed to an action to accept fire without panicking. He was right. The guards made a show of commitment by firing a couple of quick bursts, but at no one in particular as they retreated back into the prison door. The driver of the car never made it out of his door. The butt end of Turk's Uzi knocked him into the passenger seat. Gisela opened the other door, pulled the man out, and climbed in. Turk jumped behind the wheel. He roared the car forward, sideswiping the Peugeot. Abdullah started to rise, to move towards the fleeing car. Carpenter raised his Glock and fired again. The big man turned to him, staring, his eyes somewhere between fear and desperation. Raising his gun, he fired back at Carpenter. 1, 2, 3, Carpenter said, loud enough for Abdullah to hear. Play the game or die. The fourth shot was not a blank. Abdullah squirmed like a run-over dog, quivering in the cold shadow of the prison. Carpenter watched the man die, not taking a chance, not taking his eyes off of him. The car lurched around the first corner, throwing Gisela sideways as she reached over the seat to pull the black hood off her brother. The face she saw, the face she uncovered, was not the face she expected. She had thought she would see a face full of gratitude, a face full of thank yous and excitement, but the face she saw was hard and demanding. Ein, the face roared. Where's Ein? What's happened to her? Where is she? The reaction was like a fist to her face. Gisela fell back into the front seat. Ein, where was the stupid bitch anyway? Translating her thoughts, or at least most of them, into words, she yelled at Turk. Ein, where's Ein? Turk's answer was to step on the gas, and Gisela's answer was to grab his face and twist it towards her. Ein, we have to get Ein. Turk hit the brakes, throwing everyone hard forward, and threw the car into reverse. The white Peugeot sped past them. Shit, Turk said. Christ, Gisela said. It was Ein. She was staring at them out of the rear window of the Peugeot as it sped past. Gisela turned in her seat, yelling over the roar of the car as it regained its speed, chasing the white Peugeot. It's okay, Janos. She's safe. She's in the car in front of us. But in truth, she didn't know if it was okay, and if she was safe, or what the car in front of them was going to do. She turned back so Janos would not see the thoughts in her eyes. But the view out the front was no better. A big Syrian army vehicle was blocking the street. There was no way for either car to get around it. And behind, there was no way back. They would be after them by now. That's the end of chapter 44.